From the producer of the smash hit K63 comes another chilling horror story. Buried alive, they're called from under the ground. This was the terrifying message that Chloe received at midnight. And she wasn't the only one. It had been 24 hours since 46-year-old Maria de la Riva was reported missing by her family. She had last been seen entering a local supermarket in the town of A Coruña in northwestern Spain to pick up some items for dinner. But she never came home. Her car was found parked in the same place the next morning, but there was no sign of the woman. The police were baffled. They searched everywhere, but it was as if she had vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, her worried family were going crazy with worry. Every hour that went by without news of their missing loved one sent them deeper into despair. Maria had two daughters, Diana and Chloe, who were now leading the search for their mom. "We are afraid that something bad has happened to her," said Diana, her voice trembling with emotion. "She would never just leave us without saying goodbye. We have been looking everywhere for her, and even put up a reward of 10,000 euros for any information about what may have happened to her." But all the while, the police had a secret. They had actually managed to track Maria down. They knew where she was, or rather where she had been. The day before, officers had examined security footage from the supermarket and saw that after Maria entered the store, she left a few minutes later carrying a basket of groceries. After putting her purchases into her car, she got into the driver's seat and drove off. But this was where the footage ended. The next day, her car was still in the same spot, so the police assumed that she had gone missing between the hours of 7 and 8 p.m. At around the same time, an employee of a local farm on the outskirts of town noticed a blue Renault Clio parked near his field. At first, he didn't think much of it, assuming that it belonged to someone working in the nearby quarry. But the following morning, when he arrived at work, the car was still there. He knew then that something was wrong, so he contacted the authorities. When the police arrived, they found the car, but no sign of the driver. They also found several wine bottles and a bag of groceries inside the vehicle, which prompted them to launch a full-scale search of the area. And this is where they made a gruesome discovery. Buried deep in the muddy soil of the field was a woman's body. The police quickly confirmed it was Maria, but it soon became clear that she hadn't died from natural causes. She had been beaten, tortured, and ultimately shot. Whoever had done this to her had then dug a shallow grave and buried her in the ground. But who would do such a thing? Why did they bury her alive? And most importantly, why did they call their victim from under the ground? As the police began to piece together the events that led up to Maria's brutal murder, a picture of her killer slowly emerged. His name was Jose Cors, a 39-year-old Spanish national who lived alone in a small apartment in a cour. Jose was known to be an aggressive man with a history of violence against women. In fact, just weeks before meeting Maria, he had been released from prison after serving a 6-year sentence for beating his ex-partner nearly to death. But despite his violent past, Jose was still able to hold down a job as a truck driver, which allowed him to support his expensive drinking habit. On the day he met Maria, Jose was already 3 sheets to the wind. He had spent the entire day drinking in his favorite bar and was looking for more alcohol. That's when he saw Maria enter the supermarket. Jose was immediately smitten and began following her, thinking that he might be able to buy some wine with whatever money she had. But when Maria came out of the store and got into a car, Jose panicked. He didn't want to steal a car, so he quickly hid in some bushes nearby. It was then that he got a crazy idea. He would kill Maria, bury her in the nearby field, and make it look like a robbery. But here's where things started to go wrong for Jose. As soon as Maria drove away, he stumbled out of the bushes and ran to her car. There, he smashed the window with a large rock, causing the car alarm to blare. Startled by the commotion, Maria slammed on the gas and sped away. Jose was left standing by the car, seething with anger. That's when he came up with a new plan. He would drive to the nearby quarry and wait for Maria to arrive. Then he would ambush her and make her dig her own grave. But again, Jose's plan fell apart. As he was driving through the back roads, he lost control of his car and crashed into a ditch. Although the vehicle was badly damaged, Jose was okay. So he did the only logical thing he could think of. He flagged down a passing motorist and asked him to take him to the nearest gas station. At this point, Jose was desperate. Not only had his car broken down, but his plan to kill Maria had also failed. If he couldn't find a way to stop her from testifying against him, he would go down for a very long time. That's when he hatched his final, most insane plan yet. He would call Maria and tell her that he had killed her. Then he would wait for her to arrive at his location and finish the job. And here's how the conversation went down. Jose called Maria from his cell phone. "Hello, Maria, it's me. I'm sorry for what I did to you earlier, but I have to tell you that I killed you. You'd better get over to this location fast if you want to save yourself." Maria must have been terrified when she heard Jose's voice on the other end of the line, because she immediately called the police and told them everything. Then she got into her car and raced to Jose's location, but it was a trap. As soon as she arrived, Jose attacked her, knocking her unconscious with a single blow. He then dragged her into his car and drove her to the nearby field where he buried her alive. But here's where things get even crazier. Before Jose called Maria, he had actually Googled the phrase, "bury a person alive," which brought up a website with instructions on how to do it. On the website, he learned that burying someone alive was a real possibility, provided he followed these 3 simple rules. Rule no. 1. Don't bury your victim in concrete. If you do, they will eventually die of suffocation. Rule no. 2. Make sure your victim is not wearing any jewelry or metal object. Otherwise, it could cause them to choke to death. And rule no. 3. Keep the hole as narrow as possible. This will prevent your victim from thrashing around and possibly breaking their bones. With these tips in mind, Jose felt confident that he could successfully bury Maria alive. But he made one fatal mistake. He forgot to factor in human intuition. When Maria woke up in the shallow grave, she knew instinctively that she needed to move. Even though she couldn't see or breathe, she began clawing at the dirt above her head. Miraculously, she managed to free herself from her tomb and stumble out of the field. Meanwhile, Jose was sitting in his car waiting for her to arrive. But instead of seeing Maria's battered form emerge from the field, he saw a police car. He had actually led the cops right to his victim, but he never realized it. When the police arrested Jose, they found a shovel in the back of his car, along with a pair of women's shoes that matched Maria's outfit from the night before. The evidence against him was overwhelming. During his trial, Jose's defense attorney argued that Maria had actually died accidentally. "My client is a heavy drinker, and it's quite possible that he could have accidentally killed Mrs. De La Riva while they were fighting," he said. He certainly didn't mean to bury her alive. But the prosecution saw through Jose's flimsy alibi. "This was a brutal and cowardly crime," said one of the lead investigators. "The defendant not only killed Maria, but he took her life in the most horrific way imaginable. We will never know what she went through during those final moments, but we can be certain that it was pure hell." In the end, Jose was convicted of murder and sentenced to 26 years in prison. Meanwhile, Maria's family was left to pick up the pieces. "Our lives will never be the same again," said her daughter Diana. "Not only did we lose our mother, but we had to listen to horrific details of how she died. No one should ever have to endure that kind of pain. To this day, nobody knows why Jose called from under the ground. Perhaps he wanted to hear Maria's voice one last time. Or maybe he just liked the sound of his own voice. Whatever the reason, it was a fatal mistake that led to his arrest. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the playlist for more amazing stories. See you next time!